Hello, Wattpad readers. I'm here with one of my readers, who's actually my mom. She had some questions for us today. Some of the questions I think some of you had asked in the past. Some of the questions she actually was wondering herself. So, you can start.
Okay, well, question number one. So you took the ending of the book, We Can Never Be, and intertwined it with the latest sequel, Bad Intentions. How many clues did you leave before and after entering the mansion?
I would say none of the hints were revealed until the epilogue. One of the hints was the song at the beginning of the chapter. It is a Latin song, for those of you who may have missed it. It's a song that I've actually played in probably just about every book in the Bad Things series. Being in California was a hint. The restaurant being elegant was a hint. Her driving a Mercedes was a hint. The mansion itself was a hint. The long, windy driveway, the big gates, all of those were hints. The location, the person, everything.
I know as I was reading, I think the gates was the first thing that I kind of thought, wait a minute. And then the long, windy driveway, I thought, oh my God. So,
yeah.
All right, and question number two, had you planned on intertwining these two books before you started We Can Never Be?
I would say not really. I have been planning on doing this for some time to intertwine one of my books with one of the Bad Things series, and it just happened that We Could Never Be was the book suited for it. And I wouldn't say I was 100% sure till probably about chapter 38 in the book. I wasn't sure how or who I was going to intertwine Hayden with. That took me probably about 5 minutes to figure it out, actually. Chapter 38, just before I started writing it, I was like, wait a minute, and then I came up with it. So.
And how did you manage to pick Arizona as the one? I mean, was she mentioned before?
Arizona was mentioned in Arya the Chair when she was born at the same time as Ace and Arya's identical twin daughters. So they all three actually are the same age. Kalia went into labor the same time that Arya did. She was also later mentioned when she was about 15 or 16 years old in one of the Angel books. She stayed back to protect Mia because it mentioned that she was trained as a Latin king, and she's Austen's oldest child, so.
Okay. Had you originally planned on making Hayden the one who killed his family, or did you decide in the middle of the book that it was going to be his dad?
I knew that it was most likely going to be his dad by probably the first or second chapter. When I first came up with the idea for the book, I wanted him to do it. But then I got thinking about it and I was like, no, I would rather it look like he did it and then it actually be someone else. And also, the other thing with Arizona is that I picked A. Garcia because I wanted Hayden to be A. Garcia. So that was the big reason why I picked it to be Arizona. She's not mentioned too often. And it was very easy to twist that.
Easier to pull it off.
Yes. Yeah, it was easier to pull it off to be one of Arizona's kids because Arizona's kids have never been mentioned, and she was also the right age. Because Austen and Ace and Arya, they're all in their 60s now. So it had to be one of their grandkids, not one of their kids.
And had you always planned on making him adopted?
I wasn't sure until probably halfway through the book that he was adopted. I thought, how cool would that be that to find out it wasn't even his own family, so.
And why do you have so many characters in the Bad Things series? Is there a reason for that?
You know, I do come up with a lot of new characters. You know, some people are like, God, there's too many main characters. I wouldn't say there's too many, like, characters in the book, but, and it is hard to keep them all straight. You know, like, I've got some comments on the book Ace Bad Things in particular, like, God, there's so many characters. Well, yeah, there is. I want to give you an idea about how these people look. They may not exactly be a main character, but they're gonna be in the book at some point or another, and they may even come much later in the book too. So, and it's so much easier to bring them back, to have new plot twists. All these characters, they die, they come back to life, and it's a lot easier to do that when you have so many of them.
So I guess we should probably always pay attention to any character. Because
Yes.
you never know what could happen
Yes,
later.
always. Don't ever forget a character, even if they're only brought up 2 or 3 times, because they're probably coming back. I know one. There is a character, by the way, who is coming back, and I'm not gonna tell you either. So that's gonna be fun. That's a surprise for you guys.
And how did you come up with the name Bad Things to begin with?
Bad Things. I heard this song called Bad Things, and I really liked the song. It seems so very dark but very intimate in a way, and it got me thinking of a book that would be dark, intimate, and it wasn't even just about this song. I knew starting Ace Bad Things was that bad things were gonna happen in this book, so that's where the name kind of more came from. I would say that knowing bad things were going to happen in the book, and that book's not for the faint-hearted.
Do you think Hayden got his personality traits from the Garcia family, or are we gonna, kind of see that, or is it just how he was raised, how he got his personality?
I would say you've already seen a lot of characteristics in Hayden. If you really think about it, Hayden was so very much like different characters. He's intelligent, which is, a big one in any of those, because you think about how smart Angel was, how smart Ace and Arya were, and Benny, and just, the whole lot of them, very intelligent, people we're working with here. So that was one of them. And then the fact of how reserved Hayden was, which is a lot like Ace in a way, but then he's kind of got a little bit of a sense of humor, also like Ace. So I would say he's a lot like Ace, if anybody.
And do you think he will continue to be, a lot like Ace as we go through in the series?
I think what's going to be fun about Bad Intentions and intertwining Hayden and all of it is you're probably going to get some of Hayden's point of view still. Possibly. Or you're going to see how much Hayden's going to change, finding out who he really is, where he really comes from. Family history has a lot to do with who you are. Genetics do. Also how you were raised, which, in Hayden's case, I would say it's just in his genes, and he's gonna change into this, I think, very, very well, very easily, I think.
Which my favorite part in the first book was when, before she realized that she was Garcia, when Arya was a Garcia. My favorite part was when she was in the gas station.
Well, she's a Perez, so she marries a Garcia, but right.
But that goes to show it was in her genetics. I mean, she threw the scissors and she got that guy right in the throat. And, that was my favorite part.
Right, and that she threw knives as a child and stuff, like she found the art of it. And guys, throwing knives is not that weird. It is actually an art. You see, if you watch America's Got Talent, you see people on there doing that stuff all the time. It's actually a way of fighting, like mixed martial arts and bow staff, which I mentioned now that Andrew does. So, but the knife throwing, I think that's my favorite one, honestly.
And are you going to write another book after Bad Intentions, or what can we expect out of the next book if you're writing one?
I am gonna write another Bad Things book. I think the next one's kind of gonna be even bigger and badder. You know, Hayden's still gonna be in the sequel of Bad Intentions. He's gonna be throughout this book. He's, and Andrew's still gonna be there, and so you can expect whoever's in Bad Intentions is gonna be in the sequel. And I don't want to give too much away, but I would say Bad Intentions will be leading into the sequel, yeah.
Okay, and was there a reason that you made Ava's mom Karen a lawyer, and You Could Never Be?
And We Could Never Be, yeah, I did intentionally make Karen a lawyer because, I think the way she reacted is pretty normal for any mother. She was very bitchy about Ava being with Hayden because she was scared for her daughter. I think that's pretty normal. No mom wants their daughter to date a bad boy, right? But I think when she realized how confusing the situation was, from a lawyer's perspective, it didn't make sense to her, so she took it upon herself to look into Hayden's past, and she started unraveling things. And yes, I did do that intentionally for that purpose. So.
And what makes you interested in doing these kinds of books?
These kinds of books are interesting to me because they're not like one book in particular. They're not just based on romance. They're not just comedy. They're not just action or mysterious or however you have it. I like writing books, things that have never been done before. People come up with different ideas for stories all the time, and it's so hard to come up with an original plot. So, that's what I like about these books. So they're like 10 genres mixed into one book. So.
And how did you come up with the idea of We Could Never Be?
I wanted, once again, to write something that's never been done before. And I have not seen very many books that are based around somebody who is mentally ill. And I thought that would be very interesting to see somebody explode the way Hayden does, and the blackouts, because there are people out there in the world that are really like that and have mental disorders, and a lot of people don't touch base with that kind of stuff.
And we, of course, don't expect people to fall in love with a serial killer, which I guess makes it unique too.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expects, to fall in love with somebody who's supposedly insane like that. I don't think it's something that's ever really been done before, that's crazy to think, I'm twisted that way a little bit. I like those ideas.
And one last question I have for you. Why did you pick Andrew over Angel's son Ace to take the chair?
I think that I thought it would be better to have one of Arya and Ace's youngest sons doing it instead, rather than Angel's oldest son. I wanted somebody who was like Ace to take the chair, because you never got to see Ace in the chair, not really. I mean, when Arya had the memory problems, he did have to take responsibility for it for a while, but Ace never really wanted the chair. I mean, he wanted Arya to have first grabs at that chair. That's what he felt was right, and he never tried to push her out of that chair at all. So I thought it would be cool that if Andrew was similar more so to Ace, then you almost know now what it would have been like if Ace had taken the chair instead of Arya. So that's why I picked Andrew.
So there it is, guys. If she's going to write another book. And shout out to fandom. Good things don't always have to come to an end.
Yeah. Alright. You guys have a good rest of your day. If you have any other questions, just put them down in the comments and let me know. And see you later.
Bye, everybody.